G'day and welcome to ReDriven. Now, a few weeks ago we featured our most requested vehicle, which was the Mitsubishi Pajero. This week we're featuring our second most requested vehicle, the Nissan Navara. Now this, the D23 series Navara, when new, and even now that they're a few years old, they get a bit of a mixed reaction. There's an equal amount of love and hate thrown at them. So we want to know, are these actually good or are they a bit crap? What goes wrong with them? What do they cost to own and operate? And most importantly, should you buy one? Let's find out. Now, before we get deep into the Navara, I should mention that when Sam and I first started this whole ReDriven thing, we weren't expecting the levels of passion and emotion that these 4x4 dual cab utes can stir up. If you go through the comment sections of the other 4x4 dual cab ute reviews that we've done, you'll see like battles of words going on all over the place. So to keep this review as objective as possible, we've reached out to multiple Navara owners groups, Nissan technicians and mechanics, 4x4 specialist technicians and mechanics, automotive journalists, and even some 4x4 driving instructors. So this review is basically a culmination of all of their opinions and knowledge. Hopefully that will reduce the amount of abuse that I cop in the comments. Anyway, look, in this video, we are going to be focusing on the Australian variants of the Navara, but we're also aware that these are known as Nissan Frontiers and Renault Alaskans in other markets. So even though we're going to be focusing on the Australian variants of the Navara, everything we're going over should relate to Alaskans, Frontiers, and Navaras in your local market. Now, this generation of Navara was launched here in Australia in 2015, and like most vehicles in this category and class, it comes in a smorgasbord of different varieties and versions and updates, and even like obviously brands and model names. It's so complex, here's me doing a voiceover trying to explain it all. Firstly, the Navara is also known as the Frontier and the NP300 under the Nissan brand. But as I mentioned, a couple of other manufacturers have also thrown their design language on this platform, being called the Renault Alaskan and the Mercedes-Benz X-Class. This D23 generation differs from its counterparts as it's one of the only vehicles in this class featuring a coil-sprung rear end, unless of course you're looking at the single or extended cab Navaras, in which case they both have leaf-sprung rear ends like the majority of other utes and pickups on the market. Engine choice consists of single or twin turbo diesels and a far less popular petrol option, with all putting their power through 6-speed manual or 7-speed automatic transmissions. Here in Australia, the Navara lineup consists of primarily 3 different trim levels, although what those variants include can vary depending on update. And speaking of updates, the Navara received an update in 2017 known as the Series 2, and again in 2018 and later in 2019. These changes were related primarily to its suspension tune. Look, we'll cover that later in more detail, although updates to equipment and tech also occurred. The Navara is also no stranger to limited and special editions, both from the factory and dealerships, with the most substantial being the more hardcore Australian-developed and engineered N-Trek Warrior models. Plus, the most substantial equipment and visual refresh was bestowed upon the Navara in 2021. And look, obviously we'd love to go over all those graphic details of every upgrade and every variant, but that would just take far too long. The video would go for days. But we have gathered all that information and we've put it in our very handy ReDriven cheat sheets. Our cheat sheets are invaluable as they provide a full breakdown of the car's model range, its common problems, what you need to look out for before handing over your hard-earned cash, how much of that cash you should be handing over, and so much more. Check it out at redriven.com or in the link below. Now guys, look, if you own a Navara or you're a Navara expert and you've noticed that we've missed something in this video, please let us know in the comments. Like obviously we're going to do our best to cover everything that we can, but we generally find it's those that own Navaras that are the true Navara experts. So yeah, if we've missed something, let us know in the comments. Okay, so does it look good? Look, obviously looks are subjective. I think it looks fine. It's fine. I personally love the look of the N-Trek Warrior versions of these, but even in kind of like standard STX form, yeah, decent looking thing. Obviously fitting some quality aftermarket accessories will make these things look even tougher. In saying that, but I should mention, when we spoke to the guys in the 4x4 accessories world, they did mention that fitting aftermarket lights to these things can be a bit of a prick, because if the IPDM or the body control module picks up even the slightest difference in voltage, it can blow that unit out. So just keep that in mind. Now, in terms of common issues and problems with the exterior that you need to watch out for, that's coming up shortly. Okay, so how's the interior? It's fine. From a design aspect, it's arguably one of the more SUV style interiors of all of these 4x4 dual cab utes. The Amarok still wins the award for best interior. Our link to that video is just up there. But in terms of the Navara, yeah, it does the job. Now I should mention, like many utes in this class, the levels and quality of materials used will vary depending on year and even trim spec. So like the early model base versions of these have like full vinyl floors and the interior can feel a little bit utilitarian. This being the STX, you get a leather interior and things just feel a bit nicer. There's some chrome treatment and some nice painted finishes. Like any ute, it's got some hard plastics everywhere and they're not scratching too easily. In terms of general wear and tear after many years and thousands of kilometers, this vehicle is this owner's daily driver and it's wearing pretty well. Like the steering wheel is getting a little bit glossy, but the leather on the seat's wearing really nicely. It actually feels quite tough, but still soft and supple enough. Even down here, like there's a little bit of scratching on the chrome around the gear selector, but the black gloss plastic isn't scratching too much. All the buttons feel good to use. Pretty good. As I said, daily driver, and it goes camping and off-road pretty much every weekend, and wear and tear is good. Okay, in the back seat, I'm exactly the same height as Bill Murray, Prince Harry, and Caitlyn Jenner. This is in my driving position, and it's okay. Like there's a decent amount of foot room, but the problem is because the seat and the floor are kind of close, my knees are like up in the air. So on a long trip, I might lose feeling to both my bum and my feet. That's no fun. Also, because the roof line's a little bit low, like it just feels like I'm a bit kind of slightly claustrophobic. As far as wear and tear goes, look guys, it's like a new car back here. The leather feels fantastic. All the plastics feel really good. Even the backs of the seats. Yeah, I don't think this rear has been used all that much. How's the tech? Well look, the tech is going to vary depending on year and trim spec. But to give you an overview, here's me doing a voiceover. In terms of infotainment tech, the various Navara models will feature touch screens from 4 inches up to 7 inches, and all come equipped with USB and auxiliary ports in the center console, and automatic on and off headlights with twilight detection. Bluetooth phone and audio streaming were included on all grades. However, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto were not introduced until 2019. Standard equipment on the STX model includes a surround view camera system, rear parking sensors, auto wipers, LED headlights, and a 6-speaker sound system. However, we've read many complaints where the standard infotainment systems can be a bit crap and glitchy and drop Bluetooth out, hence why this owner has fitted this very snazzy looking aftermarket unit. This almost looks like a factory unit, but this thing does everything: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the lot. Although when they sent this to him, they didn't send all of the right cables, so at the moment, none of the steering wheel controls work, and neither do any of the cameras. Also, if you'd like to find out exactly which Navara has what tech, just check out the cheat sheets on ReDriven.com. So, is it practical? Oh God, sorry. Is it practical? Well, yeah, it's a ute. Of course it's practical. Plus, this being the STX, it comes standard with a tray liner and Nissan's fantastic utility track adjustable tie down system. Although the tray liner and the utility track system is optional in the lower class models. But now that we're talking about practicality, depending on what you need a dual cab ute to do, this is where the Navara can become potentially a bit unraveled. See, when Nissan first released this series Navara, it felt like the coil sprung rear end was set up more for on-road driving or some off-road comfort more than actually lugging heavy stuff. Like, fine if you're throwing a couple of mountain bikes in the back, but it kind of fell apart if you threw anything really heavy back there. The problem is that the rear end would squat, the steering would get really light and vague, and it was just a bit of a disaster. Then the Series 2 came along in 2017, but a lot of people still felt like Nissan didn't quite nail it. But to Nissan's credit, they listened to their customers and to automotive journalists, and they revised it again with the Series 3, which pretty much got it right. Although they did revise it again with the N-Trek Warrior. But here's the thing. The practicality that these things offer has more to do with you and your needs more than the vehicle itself. If you're using the tub to load a couple of mountain bikes or a bunch of camping equipment, it'll handle that easily, and being a coil sprung rear end, it's going to be quite enjoyable to drive to wherever you're going. We'll get to driving impressions in a second. But if you're planning on towing anything really, really heavy or loading loads of weight in that rear tray, yeah, we'd probably go with the leaf sprung rear end instead. In saying that, there are some awesome aftermarket suspension systems available these days, so if the Navara doesn't tick your boxes in standard form, just kind of go and get the suspension modified and it should tick your boxes. As far as actual practicality in the back seat goes, you've got a couple of map pockets here, you've got some air vents down here, some door bins that are an okay size, and just a spot to collect dust and crap up here. You can fold this seat up, which is quite handy. It doesn't give you like technically extra storage, but if you want to protect the actual leather on the seats, you can chuck half a mountain bike in here and not ruin the upholstery. And practicality up front, you've got a spot for your sunglasses up there, or sunnies as we call them in Australia, an okay sized glove box. There's also a little tray up here with a textured surface so you can exfoliate those calluses after a hard day on the job site. Also, there's a power outlet up there as well. Plus there's another power outlet here and an auxiliary input and USB point down here and another power outlet down here. If you're a drug dealer, it's fantastic because you've got 3 spots for your phone, 1 for the main phone here and 2 spots for your burner phones either side. 2 cup holders here, good sized little bin in here, some hidden cup holders up here and over there, and good sized door bins that will hold a Daniel Ricciardo water bottle. Perfect. Oh, and there's a spot here to keep like any excess flesh or flaky skin or fingernails. Also a great feature if you have any workmates or colleagues or family members that have some extreme flatulence issues, there's this awesome little slidey window at the back to let any horrible odors out. So what goes wrong with these things? Well, we're going to get to the mechanical stuff in a sec, so let's start with the exterior. First up, there are loads of reports that the paint is quite thin and is really susceptible to scratching. The drama is with a vehicle that's designed to go off-road a fair bit, if the paint scratches and meets like water or anything that can corrode, that can turn into rust, and rust is crap. Also, being something that is designed to go off-road, if you're in the market for one of these, go over the exterior thoroughly. Look for any accident damage, look for any discrepancies in the paint. Look, obviously some light scratches and a few dents are to be expected, but if you see signs of abuse, especially underneath, make sure you get underneath and have a look thoroughly under there. Any signs of abuse, just walk away. Actually, in saying that, if you are in the market for any kind of off-roader, not just a Navara, but really any 4x4, make sure you check out our Ultimate 4x4 Buyer's Guide video. The link is just up there. It could save you thousands of dollars. Okay, problems and issues with the interior. There are loads of reports that with the leather-lined models, that the leather on the driver's side, like where you get in and out, it can crack and peel, and on this vehicle, it is doing that. There's also reports that the armrest can get a little bit loose and squeaky. This one, none of those dramas whatsoever. Also, there are some reports that the electric windows can like get stuck or just falter. Not a common problem as such, but there are a couple of reports of that. Now, before we get into any of the mechanical dramas that these things can suffer, if you're enjoying this video, can I ask a favor? Can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons, and maybe give this video a bit of a share as well, because the more you share this, the more of these that we can make. Now, mechanically, what goes wrong with these things? Well, guys, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not qualified to tell you that, but Jim is.
Before we get started, sorry about the slightly dodgy audio. It is raining here again and I still can't control the weather. Unfortunately, when people hear Nissan Navara, in some cases they think what a terrible piece of shit. But their opinion is most likely being swayed by the old D40 Navara. Now, the D23 Navara, so far, seems to be way more reliable than its predecessor. Some of the more common problems we see in the workshop are oil leaks. We see oil leaks from the transmission and we see oil leaks from the engine, the timing cover in the engine. We see oil leaks from the turbo hot pipe here, which has a proprietary seal there which you can't replace without doing the whole pipe. We also see a lot of rear main oil seals. Now, I have heard in some cases that under Nissan warranty, these have been replaced 3 times on the same car. So just keep an eye out for that. On the twin turbo models, there's an active recall to fix a problem where the bottom radiator hose actually rubs through on the drive belt pulley, obviously, causing a coolant leak and potentially having a dire catastrophic overheating event. Having said that, we haven't seen any serious or catastrophic engine or transmission failures yet that haven't been related to either lack of servicing or abuse. And on that lack of servicing, Nissan recommend under normal conditions these things should be serviced every 20,000 Ks. For a whole bunch of reasons, that's a bad idea. You really should, if you want it to last, keep it serviced more regularly. Every 10,000 Ks is way better. And if you don't want it choking itself to death like a 90s rock star, you absolutely need to fit a catch can. Can we leave that in there?
Yeah, that's staying.
Too soon? No, is it not too soon? Okay. Just to address the alleged chassis cracking problem, which we're actually seeing in a lot of dual cabs, typically it comes from people not so much overloading it, but loading it to its maximum capacity. And then when you do that and you hit a causeway or a creek crossing or something, it overloads everything, and that's when they crack. So if you're following the normal loading guidelines and a bit of common sense, it won't be a problem.
Is it safe? Yeah, it's kind of safe, but to give you an overview, here's me rapidly doing a voiceover. Thanks, mate. Navara's come fitted with vehicle dynamic control to help improve four-wheel drive driving performance and safety, along with active brake limited slip, hill start assist and hill descent control, anti-lock brakes, electronic brake force control, traction control systems and brake assist, while also being fitted with 7 airbags, ISOFIX anchor points and a 5-star ANCAP safety rating from 2015. But many models miss out on smart safety systems like autonomous emergency braking, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, active cruise control, blind spot monitoring, and only the dual cab pickup models get a reversing camera fitted as standard. Again, for all the details of which Navara gets what safety gear, get on ReDriven.com, check out the cheat sheet. Okay, so what's it like to drive? Well, first of all, I've got to apologise for the audio. It's currently pissing down with rain, so if there's like incessant white noise, it's not our fault, it's Mother Nature. Now, full disclosure, I've driven loads and loads of Nissan Navaras because I was actually paid by Nissan to help promote and test the N-Trek Warrior. The thing is, I'm not getting paid by Nissan anymore because we're doing this for free. I don't get paid to talk about cars anymore, but hey, at least we get to say whatever the hell we want. Now, in terms of this particular vehicle, it is fitted with an EVC iDrive throttle controller, and it is brilliant. We're not getting paid by EVC. This video is not sponsored by EVC in any way, but it is absolutely superb. Actually, Nissan, why don't the cars feel this good from factory? It takes out all the lag, even mid-gear acceleration is so improved. Brilliant little unit. Now, suspension, ride and handling wise, this is a 2018 Series 3, so it has the third iteration of the different suspension tunes on the Navara, and it's pretty good. Like, it's not Amarok levels of comfort and refinement on road, but it does the job. It's near kind of Ranger levels, but it is like far better than most of the Leaf sprung counterparts. Sounds wise, as far as like rattles and creaks and road and wind noise, again, pretty good. Like, this is on some medium spec all-terrain tyres, and there's not any kind of excessive tyre or road noise. On the freeway, there wasn't any excessive wind noise. And as far as rattles and creaks go, even after thousands of kilometres and many years, sounds as tight as a drum. Now, like the majority of 4x4 dual cab utes, excluding the Amarok and the Triton, this has part-time four-wheel drive, so do not drive it on a sealed surface in four-wheel drive mode. Now, these Navaras have a rear diff lock as standard, but I should mention that you can only use it in low-range 4x4 mode. And actually, mentioning that, make sure, if you're in the market for one of these, make sure you test everything. Make sure all the diff locks work, all the low-range works, 4x4 works, just test everything. Actually, a mate of mine bought an older Hilux recently, didn't test any of the 4x4 modes. A few weeks after he bought it, he takes it out onto the sand dunes, selects 4x4 low range, and blows the front diff apart. The reason being, the dickhead that sold it to him didn't tell him that he'd done some dodgy repair work and had put different ratio diffs in the front and back, and now he's up for an enormous repair bill. Now guys, we're not going to get into the argument about how the Navara competes against the competition in terms of actual off-roading, but I will say this, when we were testing the N-Trek Warrior and all of the other prototypes, we absolutely abused the vehicles. Like, we took them through insane levels of terrain in all sorts of conditions in multiple states around Australia, and at no point did any of them let us down. It was phenomenal. Obviously, there were a few differences with those prototypes in the N-Trek Warrior, but if you're in the market for one of these and you want to go off-roading, just fit some quality all-terrains, some really nice aftermarket suspension, look after the underbody protection a little bit, and look, it'll take you anywhere you want to go. Okay, in terms of the 4x4 dual cab models, the early base spec ones of these with loads of kilometres in pretty shabby condition, you're going to be looking at around about $20,000. At the other end of the spectrum, like a 2020 N-Trek Warrior in basically new condition, around about $70,000. Something like this, a 2018 STX with a decent amount of Ks in really good condition, you're going to be looking anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000. And for pricing in some other parts of this crazy world of ours, here's a graphic. Nissan claim a fuel consumption figure anywhere between 6.3 and 9.9 litres per 100 Ks, depending on if it's petrol, diesel, automatic, manual, four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, a bunch of other factors. This particular Navara is claimed at 7 litres per 100 Ks, but on this test, we're seeing figures of 10.4. Nissan initially offered a 3-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty on all Navaras, but that was upgraded to 5 years and unlimited kilometres as of March 2019. And servicing is recommended at every 12 months or 20,000 Ks. And I should mention that when we were doing the research for this video, the Navara owners groups are phenomenal. If you are in the market for one of these or you own one of these, make sure you join an owners group because the advice and information they can provide is just incredible. So should you buy one? Well, look, it depends on what you want to do with it. See, if you plan on towing really heavy stuff all of the time, or regularly throw hundreds of kilograms of weight in the tray, or if you're after an uncompromising off-roading beast, then no, you shouldn't buy a Navara. There are other 4x4 dual cab utes that just do those things better than the Navara. But if you're after something more along the lines of a lifestyle ute that will still tackle the vast majority of terrain that most normal humans would attempt to explore, and you still want this vehicle to drive on road with composure and decent manners, but it needs to at least be able to tow a decent amount of stuff, plus it has to be reliable and comfortable, then yes, you should buy a Navara, and our pick is an STX exactly like this one. But guys, let's get something straight. no 4x4 dual cab ute is perfect. See, when you read through the comment sections of the other 4x4 dual cab utes that we've featured, those comment sections are filled with arguments like, oh, the Hilux is the best, no, the Hilux is crap, get a Ranger, no, the Ranger's crap, buy an Amarok, no, the Amarok's a piece of crap, make sure you get a Triton, no, the Triton's shit, get a Navara. It never bloody ends. See, the truth about all of these 4x4 dual cab utes is that they're all pretty bloody good, and they're all just a bit crap. Which one you should own comes down to you, what you want it to do, and your budget more than anything. And in terms of the Navara, even after a few years and many thousands of kilometres, look, it isn't brilliant at any one thing, it's pretty good at everything. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and hey, what did you think of the Navara? Let us know in those comments below. Oh, and remember, can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons, and share this video as much as you can, because the more you share this, the more of these videos we can make. Oh, and also, go and check us out on the socials. See you next time. Specialists, mechanics and technicians, automotive journalists, even some 4x4, like, most of the vehicles in this, okay, here we go. Okay. Obviously fitting some quality aftermarket off-roading, fitting aftermarket lights to these, Ken. Obviously fitting some quality aftermarket accessories. Okay. 4x4 accessory world, come on Morris, what's wrong with me today? Here we go. 2019 when it was extended to 5 years and unlimited kilometres. And off rain, 12 months, 20,000 Ks. Car noises, in the rain, whooshka. There we go. Good, yeah? Another car, cars. The more of these videos we can make. Oh, and also go and check us out on the socials after the video, because the car went past and ruined that entire take. The problem you see with cars going past when it's raining is it goes, it's very distracting. Oh, and remember, can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon videos? It's like everyone, oh, okay, it stopped raining, let's all go to the bakery and buy scones.